Hey, what's going on, guys? I hope you all are doing well today. Elliot here. Welcome back to The Fragrance Well. So, I saw another poll on Parfumo recently, and this poll was entitled, is price a good indicator of a good fragrance for its value or its quality, so to speak? I can't remember exactly what it was. I did take a screenshot of it this time, and I'll post it on the screen so you guys can see it. You can see where I voted. I pretty much slightly disagreed that the price is automatically going to be an indicator of the fragrance quality. Those of us in the community know this very well. The fragrance price does not necessarily tell you if the fragrance is going to be a quality product or not, but ultimately the thing about this is it is super subjective and objective. It's subjective because it's up for you to decide what fragrance is worth your money ultimately and how much you want to pay for it. And it's a little bit objective because, let's just be real, if a fragrance costs $2,000 and you don't have that kind of money to spend, you're not going to buy it anyway, or I wouldn't advise that you buy it. Or if you are going to buy it and you do think it's worth it, you definitely are going to have to make some financial planning to make that purchase happen. So it's a little bit of both. It's very wide. As you can see though, most people definitely disagree that the price is automatically not going to be an indicator of the fragrance's quality. We know this with high quality fragrances that you can get for affordable prices. But what I will say, and I do think this is hard to argue in my opinion, is that overall a fragrance that is more expensive, you're gonna find to be higher quality more frequently than you would find a cheaper or more affordable fragrance also matching that quality. I think that is undeniable. Ultimately though, it's up to you to decide whether or not you want to buy it. But I thought this was an interesting poll. This is certainly an interesting topic in here. And frankly, I had a tough time deciding exactly how I wanted to approach it. Ultimately what I did is I got 8 fragrances out of my cabinet, and I have 4 that I would be perfectly fine paying full retail for, and 4 that I probably would not have if I couldn't get it discounted. So we're gonna go through it right now. But before we do, as always, before we get started, please remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you do like the content, and please hit that bell icon, enable notifications so you can be notified when I upload new videos. Let's get into it. All right, guys, so let's get it started. Just a quick caveat for all of the fragrances in this particular video. I'm only thinking about the quality of it. I'm not thinking about anything else. Do I think that the price the fragrance goes for, and I'm gonna use mostly full retail prices. I don't wanna base it off of discounted prices. Is the quality matching the price that the fragrance goes for at full retail at this given time? Prices change over time. So first up, from the house of Parfums de Marly, this is gonna be Carlisle. Parfums de Marly, Carlisle. I think this is a good one to talk about for the subject matter because this fragrance is very popular in the community. Fruity, apple, spices, a little bit of cinnamon, rose, and patchouli kind of fragrance. Very similar to Mancera Red Tobacco. I actually put this fragrance off because of that similarity because I had Red Tobacco first, but I did have a sample of Carlisle and I kind of revisited it and ultimately decided that, you know what, there's enough differences in here to where I actually don't mind adding this to the collection. And honestly, if I'm gonna wear this scent DNA, I'm actually probably gonna go for this over Red Tobacco. It's a little bit smoother, it's more refined. The quality of this is definitely higher than Red Tobacco in my opinion. Now, would I pay full retail for this? I'm gonna be honest, I would not. If I'm not mistaken, this goes for over $400 at this time. I don't know the exact price, but I know it is higher than the typical $350 I think Parfums de Marly's go for. Apologize, I didn't look up the prices, but beforehand, but it doesn't really matter. This one is one of the more expensive Parfums de Marly's in their lineup, and honestly, I do think this is good, but I probably would not pay full retail for this. I don't think the scent warrants that kind of a price tag, but that's just my personal opinion. And honestly, this is not necessarily a favorite for me. A lot of people hold this in much higher regard than I do, and I would wonder, if you could not get it discounted, would you pay full retail for it? That's a question that you have to answer for yourself. So this is Parfums de Marly's Carlisle. Personally, I probably would not pay for this at full retail. All right, so I'm gonna keep it in the realm of Parfums de Marly. This one is gonna be Haltane. Parfums de Marly's Haltane. So this is a scent that is pretty much their take on something like Initio Oud for Greatness. You've got some spice in this, some aromatic notes, a little bit of lavender. I think there's sage in this as well, some floral elements. And then you kind of have the base, the woody, musky base, so to speak, of something you might find in Initio Oud for Greatness. It's kind of their take on it, but maybe a little bit more masculine. There's also some leathery touches to this as well. Me personally, I'd pay full retail for this. I actually don't even know what this goes for at full retail. I don't remember. I can't remember. It might be the same as Carlisle, but for me, I think the quality of this is outstanding. I know that it's a derivative of something else, but honestly, I just think this is very well made. Was originally a Harrods exclusive, so that might have something to do with it. That's just kind of speculating, but I think this scent is outstanding. I would pay full retail for this if I had to. Now I didn't. I did get it off of discounters, but that's kind of not the purpose of the video. If I had to pay full retail for it, would I consider it? Yes, I would consider paying full retail for this. Once again, from Parfums de Marly, this is Haltane. All right, so the next one's coming from the house of Amouage. This is Lyric Man. Amouage Lyric Man. If you've been watching my channel since the earlier days of the channel, you know this is a fragrance I've held in very high regard. It is a rose fragrance featuring some notes of lime in the opening of it. It features resins, woods, there's pine in this, there's some sweetness to balance it out a bit. I find the rose to be relatively jammy to an extent. There are also just some green notes in this. It does have that Middle Eastern feel to it. It's a fragrance I've talked about quite a bit earlier on in the with the channel, and I held it in very high regard. But I'll be honest, at this time, I don't think I'd pay full retail for this. There's a reason for it. Let's just say I got another fragrance that I now think is better than this one. And if I didn't have that one, I'd probably still pay full retail for this. But I've experienced other things, and as of today, based on what I have, I probably wouldn't pay full retail for this. And Amouage is one of those tricky ones anyway, because the majority of the fragrances they have, you can get really heavily discounted, and let's just be real. Once again, from the house of Amouage, this is Lyric Man. All right, next one's coming from the house of Zaharoff. This is Signature Rosé. Zaharoff Signature Rosé. Now this one's a little bit of a caveat, because unless you're buying this from somebody, or I don't even know if the house of Zaharoff holds deals on their fragrances, but otherwise you would probably have to pay full retail for this anyway, at least to my knowledge, you would. So technically I paid full retail for this anyway, but to be honest, the full retail price for it was it 160, 170, something. It was something in that range. So you could say I pretty much paid full retail the same price for this as I would have paid probably for the discounted price of Amouage Lyric. This is the fragrance I am talking about when I say I hold this in a higher regard than I do Amouage Lyric at this time. So as a result, I would rather pay full retail for this over it, and it is overall cheaper, but I don't find the quality to be any lower. In fact, I don't necessarily think the quality is higher. I think the fragrance just has more to offer, has more varieties of rose in it. It has the jammy rose, also green stemmy like rose, touch of like the lemony citric kind of rose. I don't really get much of a fruity rose in this, and it also features resins and dried woods. Doesn't really have the citric element, doesn't really have that pine green feel to it, so that's kind of the separator, but I enjoy the fragrance more just because it has a little bit more nuance to it, a little bit more to offer in the varieties of rose. But again, kind of didn't really have a choice. I had to pay full retail for this anyway, but I'm just stating the point, stating the obvious. Once again, from the house of Zaharoff, this is Signature Rosé. Next up, coming from the house of Roja Parfums, this is Elysium Parfum. Roja Parfums, Elysium Parfum. All right, so pretty sure you guys are familiar with this scent. It's pretty much a very classy take on a blue style fragrance. You've got lots of citrus, you got some slight fruitiness, there's aromatic notes like lavender, and there might be sage. I think there's thyme in this. I don't remember if there's sage. There's woods, there's like ambergris type of notes. It's just this kind of really just this one big accord of a blue scent with a lot of classiness to it. But I did hold this in pretty high regard. As you can see, I have worn it quite a bit, but honestly, and I didn't pay full retail for this, and I don't think I would. I'm just thinking about the house of Roja overall. With everything they have to offer, if I was going to pay full retail for a scent, this would probably not be one of them, given what the price is for it. Great scent, but I don't think it warrants a $500 price tag, in my personal opinion. Once again, from the house of Roja Parfums, this is Elysium Parfum pour Homme. All right, the next one's also coming from the house of Roja Parfums, and it's Isola Blu. Roja Parfums Isola Blu. Now this one, I almost did pay full retail for it. It became available on discounter, so I decided to just wait it out and get it for a really nice price. But I was considering strongly paying full retail for this because when I got a sample of it, it blew me away. Some of the best citrus I have in my collection to date. Extremely high quality citrus notes, great aromatic notes with it, dried woods. I mean, the fragrance is perfect for the weather that I live in. Being here in Central Florida, this is a great fragrance for it. I find it to be something I can use for fun days out, fun evenings out, as well as work. So it has utility and the quality is absolutely top notch. I would have no problem paying full retail for this. It's great that we can get it discounted, but if I had no choice, I'd pay full retail for this one, and I think the quality matches the price tag. Once again, from the house of Roche Parfums, this is Isola Blu. All right, next one's coming from the house of Creed. You're probably gonna find this to be kind of obvious, but I do think it is important for this conversation. This is gonna be Aventus. Creed Aventus. Listen, the thing about Aventus, I think you have to kind of keep in mind when you're considering conversations like this, is that let's just say Aventus was Aventus. It had all the pomp and circumstance, but there was like no clones of it. Like cloning did not become a thing. We would have a different mindset about this fragrance. I don't know what it would be necessarily, but most of the fatigue from Aventus does not come from Aventus itself. It comes from the clones and the inspired by fragrances that are pretty much non-stop. I don't mind different interpretations of Aventus continuing to come out. I don't understand why houses keep making clones of it. I mean, that I don't get. There's literally hundreds of them. But the thing about Creed Aventus, I don't know what it was when it originally came out, but we know all prices have increased over time. Most of the houses I have in my cabinet have increased prices over the last year and a half or 2 years. Aventus at this point, I don't think anybody disagrees, is grossly overpriced for what you're getting for it. I'll be honest, I'm not familiar with the older formulations of Aventus. I've never gotten my nose on them. I'm sure I'll run into somebody at some point. Maybe they'll have an older one and I can certainly get my nose on it. But with what it is right now, which I still think it's good right now, don't get me wrong. I don't think it warrants an almost $600 price tag or whatever the heck it's going for. Maybe it's $500. I don't know what it is. We know it's overpriced. Yes, I would not pay full retail for Aventus at this time. That's just my honest thoughts on it, but I still think it is an amazing scent, but I don't think it warrants that price tag. Once again, from the house of Creed, this is Aventus. All right, next up, or should I say the last one, is coming from the house of Wilhelm Parfumery, and this is Morning Chess. Wilhelm Parfumery, Morning Chess. All right, so if you're familiar with this fragrance, you know this is one that definitely took its cue from something like Aventus. Again, I don't have a problem with that as long as you give me a different interpretation of it. This is definitely a different interpretation of an Aventus style fragrance. Pretty much the only similarity is how I experienced the bergamot in the fragrance. But this one is green with galbanum, very bitter green, almost spicy feel with galbanum and lots of leather as well. And then it kind of has just kind of this leathery, patchouli, earthy, slightly woody dry down overall, but it's the galbanum and the leather in it for me that I think makes this fragrance absolutely outstanding. Now, I was actually prepared to pay full retail for this as well. I got it from my local niche perfumery. I think they had a sale going on, so I did get it a little bit discounted in that way. But I would have been fine paying full retail for this. I think these go for, what is it, $280? It's either I think it's $250. I think it's $250 for the Wilhelm Parfumery fragrances. They might have a couple that are a little bit more for the 100 milliliter size. That is obviously way cheaper than what 100 milliliters of Aventus is going for these days. And the thing about it is this, I can understand why this is cheaper. It's a lot simpler. There's less things going on with this fragrance. And also, if you could just consider the house of Wilhelm versus Creed, a lot of what you're paying for with Creed, let's just be real, is the name recognition, which frankly they have every right to charge for, and people still buy it at that price. But I do think that from a quality standpoint, this one has a little bit more to offer. Even though it is simpler, I think that's why the price is lower, but I would still pay for it at full retail. I almost pretty much did. Once again, from the house of Wilhelm Parfumery, this is Morning Chess. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for this video. Again, this subject matter I do think is completely subjective and a little bit objective as well. So let me know down in the comments below, what do you think about the price point of a fragrance versus its quality? Do you agree that the price being higher probably will give you a higher quality fragrance, or do you disagree with that sentiment? Looking forward to seeing what you guys have to say. And hey, if you got a fragrance that you would be more than willing to pay full retail for, even if you didn't or don't have to, let me know what it is down in the comments below. So thank you guys for watching all the way until the end. Really do appreciate you all. Please remember to be well and smell well. And I'll see you in the next episode of The Fragrance Well. Have a good one.